Well, the brother misused something, using lies, deceit, dishonoring his father. He lied to his bedridden, aged father, calling unto the name of God, so that the father might be blessing him. He has no idea the problem he brought into himself. But then, when Esau finds it out, he hates his brother and plans to kill him. My father is short in time. The sands of time are running low for him. So as soon as he dies, I'll kill my brother. I won't bring this level of sorrow to him while he's alive. Well, his mother knew that Esau was around. Mother was scheming. And Esau always realized that the mother preferred the younger brother. And the stew he had eaten was prepared by his mother. Esau wasn't stupid. Of course, he didn't value his firstborn rights, but he wasn't stupid. And he started doing everything mom didn't like about the situation, and he started planning to kill the brother. And the mother, realizing that he was planning to kill his younger brother, she calls in, summoning Jacob, saying, "You know what? You will leave for some time." The Bible says for some days. And she says, "Dear Jacob, why don't you go to your uncle's household? I have a brother. He will host you, embrace you, and you'll spend some days until your brother's anger subsides, and then you can come back. And everything will be okay." Well, when Rebekah engendered such evil, induced by a human, earthly, and demonic wisdom, Rebekah had no idea the fruit that she was about to harvest from that. And when she suggests her younger son to spend some time at Laban's house, she had no idea that those few days she suggested him to spend with Laban would add up to 20 years. 20 years her beloved spent away. So this is a time there's no WhatsApp, there's no cell phones, and maybe smoke signs and pigeons. So she lost her son. She lost her son that she also deceived. She lost Esau because she had lost the respect and love from Esau. And she ended up losing both children. Not only Esau, but Esau and Jacob. When you think, well, when a mother loses both sons, well, she loses the convivium, the relationship, the friendship. It's such a pain. It's such a pain to see when children leave the nest and they simply don't want to spend time with parents. When children don't even want to be acquainted with what is happening in their parents' lives, or they do everything possible to offend and harm their parents. It's horrible. She lost everything, but Rebekah also lost her grandchildren. Well, who are Jacob's children? Those who came to be the head of the tribes of Israel, the descendancy of Jacob. That's the beginning of Israel as a nation. Rebekah lost her grandchildren. I don't know how many grandparents are here. Let me tell you, the most beautiful thing is to hold your grandchildren in your arms. And I tell you, we have 2 great-grandchildren, the children of the children of the children. Rebekah never held a grandson in her arms. Do you know why I know that? The Bible says that 20 years later, when he comes back to his land, he reconciles with his brother. The Bible doesn't say that he met with his mother, but that the mother was already dead. and his father had passed soon after he had left. Rebekah lost both sons. Rebekah created a hateful situation between the brothers. Rebekah lost her grandchildren, and the joy of seeing future generations being elevated as leaders of the tribes of Israel. Rebekah lost the joy of being a mother, a grandmother, and even a wife, because I can't believe that she experienced any peace after having deceived her husband and having her husband lose a beloved child. Was she wise? Yes. Every scheming she did was under a wisdom. Well, it is. Put on his clothes, put on his scent, devise deceit, and deceive your father. But the human, earthly, and demonic wisdom yields a fruit, which is the fruit of loss. And the wisdom that comes from above is gentle, peaceful, yielding joy and peace. The fruit is the manifestation of God on earth. I wanted to bring this word to you here at the church, and those who will be listening to this on the YouTube channel. I will post this there. Many families are being destroyed due to the lack of wisdom, not only on the woman's side, but also on the husband's side. Families who do not build peaceful relationships. Our God, the God we serve, is a God of reconciliation. Do you know how the First Testament finishes? Stating that before the great and terrible day of the Lord, he would send Elijah, not the reincarnation of Elijah, but the Spirit using a prophetic generation in order to convert the hearts of the fathers to the children, and vice versa, so that God might not strike the land with cursings. Curses come from God, not from the demons, not from the devil. When we talk about curses, people have their feathers ruffled. They don't like this word. They think that this is an action from the devil. It's not. This is an action that comes from God. Remember when God came to Cain, the very beginning of humanity, Cain had just killed his brother, Abel. And he says, "Where's Abel, your brother?" Cain answers, "Well, am I his tutor? Am I his caregiver? Am I to answer for him?" God knew what happened. He knows everything. He's everywhere. He saw it. He saw Cain killing Abel, and he answers Cain after he says, "Am I his keeper?" Well, God answers, "You are now cursed and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. You are now cursed and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand." Who curses Cain? It's God. Who tells Abraham, "I will curse those who curse you, and I will bless those who bless you"? It is God who says that. And who concludes the First Testament stating, "If there is no conversion of the parents into children, and children unto parents, I will strike the land with curses"? It's God who curses. Curses come from the Lord. It's an outcome of God's judgment. He is fair and just all the time. Many families are living under curses because there is strife amongst siblings, children dishonoring parents, mothers leading children to dishonor their fathers. Well, when you read Rebekah, that's so old. This is the First Testament. No, there are Rebeccas currently doing the same thing. Do you know such a scenario when the service ends? Yesterday we had a service, and the teenagers want to go to a friend's house. There will be a movie session. Let's watch a movie, and the teenage leader will take us there. This is a gospel thing. There's nothing wrong with this, Mom. And then Mom says, okay, let me talk to your father. Well, Saturday, father lets them go because Sunday there's no school. And then again on Sunday, well, we will continue the film. It was rather long and we didn't finish watching it. We will watch the rest of it on Sunday. And then Sunday, the child says, well, I can go again to that gospel movie session with popcorn that will take part at the teenage leaders, right? Well, ask your dad. And then he says, Dad, can I go? Dad answers, no, not today. Tomorrow there's school. You need to be prompt and ready. Well, if you go to bed late, if you don't go home now and have a snack and sleep, you won't be able to wake up very early, or you will snooze during class. So, today is not the day of a movie session, be it gospel or not. And then the boy goes back to Mom and says, my dad is such a bore. He doesn't understand my needs. He's too strict. My friend's parents, fathers specifically, allow them. And the father says, I'm not other kids' parent. I am your father. I know your needs. And I know that if you don't sleep full 8 hours, you won't resist the full day's work. That's why I say no. And then back to Mom, he says and weeps, Mom, I cannot take this anymore. All my friends keep on teasing me because my dad is so strict, demanding. Mom then says, wait, let me talk to your father. Is there a problem in having her talk to the father? Can she champion his cause? Of course she can. She could say, well, all the kids are going, darling. He saw the first portion of the film. It's just today. It's just an exception. And then, with that sweet and mellifluous voice, she can convince her husband. And husband says, well, my darling, just because you insisted. But there is a caveat. Well, now it's 9 p.m. The evening service is ended. This boy needs to be asleep in bed by midnight, because if he's not in bed by midnight, there's no avail in going to school tomorrow. If he's in bed by midnight, it's okay, he can go. And then she comes back to her son. Your dad allowed you to go. You can go. Now, you need to be in bed, sleeping by midnight. And she's rejoicing. And he says, Mom, you're the best. I love you. You're the best mom in the world. I have everything I need. But when she says, but you need to be in bed by midnight, sleeping, lights off, and you snoring. Well, what's the point then? Until I get there, we start the movie, finish it, talk about it, and then back home, well, I won't be able to make it by midnight. I won't go. He is a bore, and there's no use of you trying to defend my father. And then Mom looks at the boy, feels compassion, and uses the wisdom that is earthly, fleshly, and demonic, and says, well, let's do the following. Go ahead, spend the time you have planned. I'll leave the keys to the door inside that vase on the porch to the right, and you'll grab that key. You will very silently open the door, and please do this without your shoes in order to avoid making any noises. Open the door, enter your room without turning on the lights, because that could wake up your father. Get in bed and stay put. Your father will not rise to check out what time you came back. The boy is joyful, and he says, well, Mom, thank you so much. You sorted out. You are the best. I love you, Mom. And showers her with kisses. And the boy, with all such freedom, without the limits that are for his own benefit, the limits that father places on his life is for the child's benefit. And now he doesn't need to honor his father. And without having any idea of the consequences of his rebellion, there he goes, comes back 1 a.m., the keys to the house are there, were planned. He silently goes to his room, lies down, and the next day, with that sleepy countenance before going to school, father looks at him, looks at mom, and asks, "What time did he come back?" Both answer, 11:30. Both answered in unison. But he came back actually at 1 a.m. Well, brazen face is the mom. She is laden with a wisdom that is earthly, demonic, and she agreed to lie to the father, stating that he came back home at 11:30. And then the father looked at the boy, looked at his wife, and said, "Well, I trust my wife." The fact is that this mother is sowing loss. She will lose this son. And they have no idea why their children are living in rebellion. They're doing everything wrong because dishonor is rampant. In a house where the oldest child dishonors father and mother, do you know what's the outcome according to the Bible? The spiritual world is governed by spiritual laws. I told you yesterday that the commandment to honor one's father and mother in order that your days might be long and that you might enjoy a fruitful life, that is one of the most crucial parts of the spiritual rules, the Ten Commandments, the same set of principles where God says, "Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not have other gods before me." Well, when one does not respect the principle of honor in a household, there are consequences. Family is something that is part of God's project. You shall leave your household, and you shall join with one woman, and you will become a single flesh. This is a word spoken by Adam, but it's not him speaking, it's God's mouth. When God creates man and woman, male and female, he separated one from another and delivered the woman to the man. Adam says, "This is bones of my bones, flesh of my flesh," and therefore a man shall leave his household and join himself, cleave himself to one woman, so that they might become a single flesh. Well, how can Adam know this? Adam was created from dirt. How can he prophesy this? This is the prophecy of the family. The family is a plan of God. And why does God include in the Ten Commandments to honor one's parents so that you might live a long life and be fruitful and prosper? This is a principle that might bring fullness of life. The enemy cannot shorten your days. He cannot cause you to live in suffering. This is a biblical principle bearing in itself a biblical promise. There's always a reward in obedience. When you come here to the altar to surrender your tithes and offerings, as you did just now, and when the word says, "Come, bring your tithings, bring your offerings," there's a promise attached to that. He promises to open the windows of heaven and pour blessings without measure. So the pastors who receive this in their ministry, those tithings that are given back, that portion that God commands to bring back as tithings and offerings, the pastors can say, "God, fulfill your promises. Open the windows of heaven. Pour your blessings without measure," because they are obedient to your commandment. So now you can reward them. Every obedience brings a reward. In the Ten Commandments, this one commandment of obeying one's parents brings a certain reward, a long and fruitful life. Now, Pastor, is it possible to dishonor one's parents, either father or mother, and have a long life? Because I know people who did that and had a very long life, died in old age. Well, I know some people like that too. But if you realize the lives they have lived, they have always lived under oppression. There's always been challenges in provision, problems in health. They become that lonely elder, and they end up harvesting what they have sowed. Have you seen someone who dishonors their parents and live well? Well, they have good cars, it could happen. They have a prosperous life, apparently, but they end up losing their lives early on. I've never seen a generation who do not honor their parents and have a long life. How many parents end up burying their children in our generation? How many parents become pallbearers of their own children? Is that right? No. Parents should be buried by their children. A generation buries the preceding generation. But because of curses, their lives were shortened. God fulfills the curses. It's not the devil, it's God. This is the outcome of God's justice. We currently live in a society that has been dubbed as postmodern. It's not modern anymore, it's postmodern, where wives are dishonoring unto their husbands. They do not subject themselves to their husbands. And they dishonor their husbands in front of their children. How will a child honor one's father if their mother is dishonoring the husband in front of them? The mother is dismantling everything that the father was called to do. If the mother takes on the role of the head of the family and misuses the authority that was originally designed to be unto the husband. Yesterday, I mentioned I was ministering in an event for women, and when I spoke about submission to the authority of the husband, which is biblical, it doesn't matter if you are a judge. If you have a husband, he has authority over you, according to the Bible. And you see Pastor Amelia, who has been in front of the church because her husband was at home, bedridden, but she submits herself to her husband. It doesn't matter how much you have studied, the amount of money you inherited. It doesn't matter how much you bring to the marriage. It doesn't matter. You are not the head. Wives, you are not the head. Your husband is the head of the family. This is a biblical principle established by God. The husband is the utmost authority at home. And when a wife dishonors this principle, chaos ensues. Because the older son sees mother dishonoring the father, and then the second son dishonors the older brother, who dishonors mother and father. Everyone is dishonoring everyone. And no one is under the blessing in this family. No one. And they don't understand why chaos ensues, why the enemy is so powerful in acting, running havoc in this family. Well, the principle of dishonor has established curses into this household. And curses come from God. Remember this. Well, you can march and command the evil to leave, call on the team of healing and deliverance from the church. If you do not abide by that biblical principle, the enemy will not leave. The door is still ajar. The door is still open